Today I'm back with another eBay purchase. This one is a smaller envelope. This one is not a mystery lot. I know exactly what's going to be in this envelope, and I pretty much bought it to get two coins. So let's remove the tape and we're going to crack into this. This entire package is only going to have, I believe, 31 coins in it. So it is a lot less than I might usually purchase on eBay, but it's also only $8. And so it the two coins in here that I wanted, to me, made the whole thing worth it. And we've got ourselves a Ziploc bag in here. This is where I carefully take the letter in here out of the envelope just to make sure there is nothing about me on it. And yeah, here we go. There's the listing, a foreign coin lot of 31 coins. And actually, the item price was $2 with $6 for shipping. So I ended up paying $8 for that. So I guess we'll evaluate whether or not we think this is worth $2 or if it's worth $8. I guess $8 is the price to consider, and 31 foreign. So I think we've got what we were supposed to get out of here. Now, several of these coins, especially most of the coins here at the beginning, are quite common. And so we're going to kind of pick out those coins first, and then we're going to get to things that are a little bit more interesting. About half the coins in here are from Mexico, and we're going to start with them first. There were three of these. This is a really common coin. This is the 5 centavos, dated 1963, 1959, and let's see, another one that was 1962, and I dropped it. This coin features Josefa Ortiz de Dominguez. She was a leader during the period of Mexican independence. There was an older version of this coin where she was facing the left, and it was a larger size. Those were made from 1942 to 1955. There was a 1950 version that was copper nickel that is, I wouldn't call it rare, but I would call it uncommon. I found about one of them every year or so. This particular design was made from 1955 to 1969. And then there was another design made which was a reduced size of the previous version. These are dated 71 and 72. So these were made from 1970 to 1976. Now we're going to have two coins of, these are going to be the 10 centavos from about the same time. This one features Benito Juarez. This coin was made from 1955 to 1967. He was the president of Mexico from 1858 to 1872. All these Mexican coins are going to be pretty common. Got another two here of, these are going to be 25 centavos coins of, this is Cuauhtemoc. He was the last Aztec emperor. And so that means that his reign lasted until 1525. So goes to show how old these are. This one is the 25 or 50 centavos. There is a variety on here for the 1975 coins. Let's zoom in a little bit closer here. And he is wearing a crown made of feathers. If you look at this version right here, look at this. There's a line with 3 circles in it. For some of the 1975 and 1976 versions, there will be dots in each of these three circles. And I believe that happens in 75 and 76. So that is a variety to look out for. Then we've got one of these 20 centavos coins. It's a really nice design, but I get a lot of them. There is a small word etched into here. That is the location of where this scene takes place. It is Teotihuacan. In the foreground of Teotihuacan, we have the Pyramid of the Sun. There are a couple of pyramids there, but that one is the big pyramid. And then in the background, we have a couple of volcanoes. One thing that we find on a lot of Mexican coins from this time is the radiant cap. So you see a lot of lines coming out of the Phrygian cap on here. The Phrygian cap oftentimes refers to freedom. When we flip this one over, there are three versions of this coin. This one's in quite good shape for its age. In 1943, this had been a silver coin, and then in the middle of the year, they changed it over to this bronze coin. And then this is the small eagle design, which ran from 1943 to 1955. And then there was a larger eagle coin that ran a little bit later on from 1955 to 1971. And then after that was a low relief redesign of the eagle that only ran from 1971 to 1974. And from the picture, I couldn't tell the date, but I did look it up. There's a little bit of a stain here on the pyramid. The Krause catalog said that this year, being the first year, and it only had a partial print run, if you could find it in uncirculated MS-60 condition, would be worth $18 of a book price. And Numista said it would have been even more than that. And so I don't know if this is quite uncirculated or not. Part of me thinks it is, but part of me might think it's AU on here, but still a pretty coin. I'm going to check to see if I should keep this one. We're going to move to a 5 peso coin here from 1980. At this point, Mexico is running a series called the Mesoamerican Culture. This coin features an Aztec god, Quetzalcoatl. And in particular, it is a sculpture of the feathered serpent god, Quetzalcoatl, so an Aztec sculpture. This coin was minted from 1980 to 1985. It's a 5 peso. Then as we move up from here, we have the 10 peso from 1987. Featuring Miguel Hidalgo. He's oftentimes called the father of the nation. This 10 peso coin was made from 1985 to 1990, and it's made out of stainless steel. Next, I have a couple of these 100 peso coins. Although that one is a little bit corroded, so I'll flip that one over. This coin features Venustiano Carranza. He was president during the Mexican Revolution, which happened around 1920 or so. He certainly has a really nice mustache and beard on here, but the coin also features Braille. That would be the number 100 in Braille. And then the last of the Mexican coins, we've got 3 of these. The 1,000 peso was the last or the highest denomination of a circulating peso before they did their redesign around 1992. At that point, 1,000 pesos of the old design turned into 1 peso of the design that we have today. This one features Juana de Asabe de la Cruz. She was a nun who was also I guess you could call her an early feminist from the mid to late 1600s. She's given the nickname of the Mexican Phoenix. She was a writer and philosopher and poet, and a very accomplished lady. These were made from 1988 to 1992. That's all the Mexican coins, and I'm pretty much going to rank everything else here from common to least common. We're going to start with a very common 1 yen. It is in nice condition. The 1 yen features a bamboo sprout on this side. That's the number for 1, that's the number for yen. And then this coin was made in, it's pretty much the same design. These are still made today, but this is the same look that they've made since 1955. But I can look at this one and tell that it was made in 1965 based on this symbol and the number 4 and the 10 symbol right here. I've got a whole video that explains how to read Japanese coins that, if I remember, I'll link it right here. I'll move to a British shilling. We've got George VI on it. And then this is where we have the date of 1947. There's 6 different versions of the British shilling featuring George VI. And of those versions, there was a 50% silver version that was made up until right before this one. It was made from 1937 through 1946, 50% silver. And then the version that was made from 1947 to 1948, which would include this one, includes a reference to being the Emperor of India on the coin. After that was no longer the case, starting in 1949 through the end of his reign, about 1952, I believe, these letters were removed from here. So that's 3 of the versions, but during this time, the British made 2 different versions of the coin. You'd have the emperor or the monarch, the king, on one side, and then you would have an English version and a Scottish version. This is the Scottish version, so it is a lion wearing a crown, standing on a large crown, and then on the left he's holding a sword, on the right he's holding a scepter. And then we've also got the Scottish thistle down here. So the English version is a lion that is, I think he's facing the left, standing on top of the crown. So there's 3 of these Scottish versions and 3 of the English versions based on what I was describing earlier. From Finland, we have a 20 penniä. This is a pine tree. This design was made from 1963 to 1990, and they've got some 10s and some 50s that look very similar. Finland, in their language, that is Suomen tasavalta. So we have another lion ready to fight. This one is also holding a sword like the last one, but also standing on a curved sword. Underneath the handle of the sword is the letter K. That is not a mint mark, but that is the first initial of the last name of the mint master at the time. So that is, you'll find this with about 3 different versions, and the K was in the middle. We've got a couple of coins from the Philippines. These are going to be identical, and they appear to be about the same, well worn. This is the 1 peso from 1976, featuring national hero Jose Rizal. He was one of the Filipinos who led the independence from Spain. So there's two versions of this coin. This is the first version that was made from 1975 through 1978. And the only difference is what is written in the banner on here. So this one translates to say the Republic of the Philippines in that banner. But when Ferdinand Marcos took over, he changed the banner to say, I believe it's Isang Bansa, Isang Diwa, which translates to one nation, one spirit. So that's the only difference of the coin, of this coin that was made from 1979 to 1982. Since that was considered a fascist motto, when he was no longer the ruler of the Philippines following the People Power Revolution, they pretty much scrapped that motto from everywhere you could find it. From Greece, this comes from a time where there were 3 aluminum coins in 1959. For some reason, I find this coin in uncirculated, nice shiny condition pretty often. This one is the 10 lepta, but there is also a smaller 5 and a larger 20. It's made out of aluminum. This side has grape leaves on it. And then the other side has a wreath topped by a crown. We've got a bronze coin from Portugal. This one is the 50 centavos. This has 5 ears of wheat on it. The number 5, we're going to see that a lot as we flip it over. This bronze version of the coin was made from 1969 to 1979. The symbol on here is going to be 5 escutcheons, which is kind of like a shield, and then each of them has 5 dots on it, which are called bezants. So this whole symbol of the 5 escutcheons, each with 5 bezants, is called the quinus, which is not a queen, but that is based on the word for 5. So you've got 5 dots on on each of 5 shields. This is part of the Portuguese coat of arms. And when the coat of arms was originally designed, which was many centuries ago, each of these dots would have represented an entire silver coin. So as we go back to the history of that. But we've got one other Portuguese coin on the screen here. This one is going to be the 5 times larger than the last one. This one's going to be the 2.5 escudos, dated 1965. This is a sailing ship called a caravel. This coin was made from 1963 to 1985. There previously was a silver version of this coin, but that stopped production in the 50s. If you look on the flag here, we've got kind of a similar 5 dots on one flag on that side. Then we flip this one over, it has more of the coat of arms. So in the very middle, we have the quinus with the 5 shields or 5 escutcheons with 5 dots each on a smaller shield, surrounded by a larger shield with 7 castles on it. And then the way they write 2.5 escudos would be 2, and then they're what looks like a $sign, 50. We'll move to a coin from Panama, and if you've been watching me for a long time, you know what I'm going to say next. I think I say this about every coin from Panama, that they are designed essentially with the same, their currency is pegged to the United States dollar, and all of their coins are minted to essentially the same specification as United States coins. So the penny, is the United States cent, is going to match the same weight and metal content as the Panamanian penny or cent. So the quarter of a Balboa, their currency is named at the Balboa after the explorer. And so instead of being called a 25-cent coin, it's called a quarter of a Balboa, kind of like the United States 25-cent coin is a quarter of a dollar. And so you would think the planchets would be made in the United States, but they're actually minted in the Royal Canadian Mint. but to the same specifications as the United States coin. So in 2001, when this coin was made, we're going to have 9 stars across the top. Newer versions of this coin would have 10 stars, and that represents the number of provinces or states that you would find in the country, and that changed to 10 after 2001. The next coin is one that was almost so small that I couldn't quite tell what it was for sure. I knew it was going to be a coin from either Sri Lanka or their previous days of Ceylon. It is 1 cent from 1965. For an aluminum coin that old, I would say it is in pretty good shape. And it is going to be from Ceylon, and the reason I can tell that is if you look at the banner here, I think this side says Republic, or this side definitely says Ceylon. So this was when they were no longer controlled by the British, so they were a republic by this point, but they hadn't quite changed their name to Sri Lanka yet. So when that happened, which was in these coins were made up through 1971, but starting in 1973 through 1994, the version of the coin would have not had this banner that goes across the bottom. So some of the other design elements would have been a little bit different on here. We're going to have a coin from Thailand. So this one is going to be a circulating commemorative coin. We have Rama on here, portrait looking to the left. And then on this side of the coin, it is looks kind of like a dragon. It is a royal ceremonial boat that is shaped to look like a dragon. And if you look in the boat, you can see a whole bunch of oars so that people can row it. This next coin, I used to find one of these about every other year or so. I don't know what it is about this year. I've gotten so many of these. And so I'm still going to talk about it, but it's not as novel as it used to be. So Helvetica is Switzerland. And when you look at this coin, it's got a curly-haired herdsman on it. Some sources say this is William Tell. It is not. I probably said that in a very early video, but that's because the Krause catalog got it wrong once, and so people have been spreading that for a long time, but it is not William Tell. It is a 5 francs coin from 1976. And so Switzerland does not change their coins very often. They've been using this design for almost a century. But the real reason that this is hard to find is because the Switzerland currency is stronger than almost every other currency out there, including the United States where I'm at. So I looked it up right before filming this video. The foreign exchange value of this coin right now is $6.12. And so for each one of these that I find, it makes me wonder, how could I cash this in? How could I get my $6.12 out of this coin? The answer is I've not been able to figure out how to do that. There are some banks in the United States which will give you currency exchange, but not for coins. They only deal with paper money. And so I've only found one website where you could mail them all of your coins, but it's in Britain. So an international shipment that's heavy does not seem very cost effective unless you happen to have a lot of these to it. But when we look at this side, there's a couple of plants on here. The one on the left is an Edelweiss, for those of you who are familiar with the Sound of Music song. Then on the right, it's called an Alpenrose. And then on the edge, there are some stars. So it starts right here at the dash. We've got a few stars. Dominus Prodeveribit, which translates to the Lord will provide. So this coin was originally made out of silver, and it was a reduced size to this size starting in 1931. They made it out of silver until 1967, and then for 1 year again in 1969. They started making it out of copper nickel in 1968, and then going forward ever since 1970. This coin has a coin alignment, which means to keep it upright, you flip it like this. The coin alignment lasted until 1981, and then starting with that, you would have the metal alignment, where it would be right side up if you'd done it that way. And then there is different versions based on whether or not the letters are raised or incuse in the edge. So there's 4 or 5 different versions of this coin to look out for. We're down to the 2 coins, which was the very specific reason that I picked up this bag. We'll start with this one. I had this coin, but I had it in fine condition. This coin is going to be from the Republic of Korea. We would know that today as South Korea. This was pretty soon after when South and North Korea split up. So it has a date on here of 4292. On our calendar, that is 1959. These were minted in the United States Philadelphia Mint. Most of them were made in 1960. The birds on this side, they're a mythical bird called the bongwang. And then we flip it over, and this is going to be the president of that time. So I believe his name is pronounced Syngman Rhee. He was president from 1948 through 1960. This coin was only made for the 1 year, at least it's only dated for the 1 year. And this was one of the first 3 coins made in Korea. It's KM3. And they made a 10, 50, and 100, which were valid up until 1962. And then they started their new decimal system after that. So there were about 50 million of these minted. However, in 1962, you had to turn them all in. From that point, all of the ones which were collected were then melted down. So even though there was originally a mintage of 50 million of them, it's hard to say how many of them actually survive. And so the catalog, or actually Numista says if you find this one in extra fine condition, would book for $650. And this one is certainly going to be an upgrade in my collection. But I probably wouldn't have bought this lot at all if it weren't for this last coin. It is in well-worn condition. It has a hole in it, but it's a coin that I've never seen before. And so I am really happy to have it. And this is really my first true look at it. This is a design that I've never seen before. So there is a hole in the top here that is in the middle of the date. So the date was 1916. So that hole is in the middle of the 9. It's going to be 5 centimes. And then on this side, it has chamber, day, which is of commerce, Martial. So this is going to be emergency money. I would normally call this, if it was from Germany, I would call it Natsgeld or Kriegsgeld. This comes from the time around World War I, where there was not enough capacity to keep up with coins during the effort of the World War I. So a lot of municipalities made their own coins as legal tender. Most of the time you find them, they're going to be from Germany, but even those are really rare. And other countries like France made that too. So Marseille is a city in France. When we look at this coin, at the very top, there is a circle that has the bust of Mercury in it. And then the main part of the coin here has the coat of arms of the city of Marseille. So it has a shield topped by a crown. Then coming out from behind it on the left is a cornucopia, and on the right is a trident. There is a banner across the bottom that has the motto of the city. or at least in Latin, it says Massilia Civitas, so that translates to the city of Marseille. For a mint mark on here, this one's sadly a little bit too well worn to be able to really see it. The mint mark appears in multiple places, and there are different versions of this coin. This is really hard to see, but there is a triangle right here. And I believe every version of this coin has this triangle. Sometimes it's pointing up. There's other versions pointing down. Inside the triangle are the letters J, G, with a tiny little line between the two letters. There's going to be another version of the coin where there is the same triangle appearing in a second place right here in this corner next to Mercury and the letter E in Marseille. But the mint mark also appears in the name right here, and some of the letters are a little bit well worn. You can see the J and then the name Guerin right here. So the name of the mint was the Jean-Baptiste Guerin Mint, which was there in Marseille. And so with the other variations, unfortunately, it's too well worn to even see it on here, but since it's Guerin, the letter N, sometimes the N itself is upside down. Sometimes these letters right here are a little bit larger. Sometimes there's a dot between the J and the G. So different varieties to look for with this coin. The coin catalog that documents the emergency money from France is called the Elie Mon catalog. It's named after the author of the catalog is Roland Elie, and it's the Monies of Necessity catalog. So Elie Mon, and in the catalog it's 10.1A. There actually is a super rare silver version of this coin where there were fewer than 100 of them made, and they were essentially gifts by the mint to several leaders of the area. So that one's so rare that I can't even find a value on it, but that would be something to find. So I don't have, to my knowledge, I can't think of any French emergency money coins that I have. It's really hard to find them from any country outside of Germany, even though the German ones are even rare. So these last two coins made the whole thing worth it to me. And so that Mexican coin is probably going to be an upgrade in my collection as well. So it has pretty good value. I'm very happy with this purchase for $8. So I'll catch you in the next video. So until then, bye.